Martin Popoff here from the Contrarians, back again with another edition of Reliving Old Reviews as a Useless Tool of Confusion. This is where we look at an old band or album and see if the writer got it right, boots on the ground at the time. These are things that me and my buddies and all of us at the Contrarians, stuff we've talked about for years and years. But this is a pretty obscure one. Maybe we haven't ever talked about these guys. I know I've brought them up many times. This is a review of magazine Magic, Murder, and the Weather. Okay, so this is from Melody Maker, June 13th, 1981 magazine, one of the great post-punk bands, probably my favorite post-punk band. And this is the last album they made before Reunion, right? So this is a review by Lyndon Barber. Let's see what Lyndon has to say here. Okay, so ever since the startling real life helped shatter the vital but narrow parameters of the punk landscape, magazine have proudly displayed a zigzag dynamic without their compass ever straying too far from the pole of Howard Devoto's disturbing obsessions. Wow, love that. Because that's what these albums are about, his disturbing obsessions. And he recognizes right out of the gate, Real Life is one of the very earliest post-punk albums. Howard Devoto had the courage or the vision or the creative drive to leave the Buzzcocks right at the beginning, Spiral Scratch EP era, right? And go off and create this immensely interesting band. I always call them the Pink Floyd of post-punk, right? Especially come with the second album, Secondhand Daylight. I think that's an absolute masterpiece. This Magic, Murder, and the Weather is probably my least favorite of the four. But anyways, let's move on. It's looking to be a really good review. Looking back at the change between the oblique lyrical strategies of that first album and the open heart surgery of the correct use of soap. Ours in Canada was called the alternate use of soap. It had slightly different tracks, slightly different album cover. And comparing the radically different productions of the second and third album, it should come as no surprise that magazine's Swan Song represents a final twist in the tale. But what does come as a shock is that Magic, Murder, and the Weather doesn't so much represent a band deliberately altering their route as one that's been blown wildly off course. Magazine's supreme strength used to be their exceptional power to penetrate and evoke, whether recalling the claustrophobic atmosphere of a recurring nightmare in Parade or illuminating the swirling complexities and contradictions of human relationships and mental states in songs like Because You're Frightened and I Want to Burn Again. Pretty interesting. I think we're going to a good place here because, this is an album that seems kind of like unraveled and loopy, and it's lacking that sober conservative gravitas, that power. The rhythm section's a little more playful and a little less studied. But all we've been left with as parting shots is a few crumbs strewn across a creative wasteland, a series of lazily constructed songs that amble along with the nonchalance of a kid kicking a tin can down the street. Beautiful imagery there. And if anybody imagines the lyrics will act as some kind of consolation, then they'll have to start saving for an ear trumpet, since Devoto's vocal delivery and Martin Hannett's echoey mix conspire to render the whole chunks of them indecipherable. Boy, yeah, this is hitting it absolutely on the head. Just beautiful, beautiful insights here from Lyndon Barber. Even where the words can be made out, they veer between apparently willful obscurity, presumably a bid to fulfill the air of mystery promised by the record's title, and intelligence-insulting banality. Try The weather's variable, so are you, but I can't do anything about the weather. This kind of metaphorical wonder a third form might jot down on the back of a bus ticket. I don't know. I think that sounds pretty cool. Or for a spot of punk surrealism, I saw an advert for ice cream. Seems it was eaten in the Garden of Eden. I think that's pretty cool, too. It's hard to pinpoint why magazine have come to such a sorry ending, but it's possible that the departure of guitarist John McGeough last year and the short stay of replacement of Robin Simon contributed to their loss of artistic vision, upsetting their tight-knit working methods. McGeough, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, was a co-writer of early magazine classics like The Light Pours Out of Me and Shot by Both Sides, and leading to a dip in their collective motivation. It's true. I think they had a great chemistry going and a great sound. I mean, I'm saying this, but really only the two albums sound semi-similar. Even the correct use of soap or alternate use of soap is radically different sounding than the masterpiece, Secondhand Daylight, right? The guitarist here, Ben Mendelsohn, is technically able and manages to contribute a few points of interest, but nowhere is he given the kind of freedom which allowed McGeough to become an important contributor to the group's personality. The rest of the playing on Magic is sadly devoid of any warmth or feel, coasting where it should be probing, with even the usually magnificent Barry Adamson failing to add any bounce or bite. Yeah, so that's kind of the thing though about this band, is that there is just this fearless creativity, and if change takes them somewhere, it takes them somewhere. Like I say, this is 4 albums, 3 different sounds. When they come back with Know Myself, it's another different sound again. I mean, it's obviously decades later, but yeah. Know Myself, Thyself, whatever it's called, with that crazy one-eyed album cover, right? Pretty cool. I've played that out many times as well, walking around and stuff, driving around. But yeah, that's the cool thing. And in between, we get what do we get? We get some collaborations. We get Luxuria from Howard, very cool project. So yeah, it's just you almost expect, it's almost like a Bowie-esque thing where you expect the unexpected, and this was pretty unexpected, but it's still a pretty cool album, right? Perhaps the most blame should be attributed to Martin Hammett for mixing the album into a cold mush in what sounds like a failed attempt to capture the ethereality of his recording with Pauline Murray. That's interesting as well. And yes, it is atmospheric and ethereal. It sounds like the players are in different corners of the room kind of thing, right? There is one saving grace in the form of About the Weather, already released as a single, a bracing slice of Tamla-influenced pop, but even that stands in the shadow of Magazine's former glories. If this record was merely a 4th album, it would be a gross disappointment, but as an epitaph, it's just sad. Don't remember them this way. Wow. I was, like I say, I was fine with it, getting it as a new release back in 81. It's got that creepy album cover too. Like I say, it's my least favorite of those 4, but I still thought it was chilling and weird and creepy and just such a great kind of, X-ray into Howard Devoto's mind. So there you go. Magazine. A review of Magic, Murder, and the Weather. And so like this, if you liked it, hit like, please subscribe. We'd like to get those numbers up. You can join our Patreon situation. I've written a ton of books, never a book on Magazine, but I've got at martinpopoff.com. I've written about 130 books, and I'd say 100 of them are still in print. So I sign them, send them out from the office here in Toronto. So that's martinpopoff.com. I've got an audio podcast as well, History in 5 Songs with Martin Popoff. Another series I've been doing at the same time I've been doing this one is the Who Invented Heavy Metal series within our vast umbrella concept of the Contrarians. So there you go. Go listen to some Magazine.